and I don't like it. I don't love it. It seems sort of like energetically whack. But like my shit started as soon as I get on here trying to talk about or trying to listen to some stuff that actually has something to do with the greater, you know, things outside of myself that I find important. Like voter rights, you feel me? I like how my shit wanted to try to like reconnecting. Oh no, I can't share this information that people desperately need in this country. We gotta get out of this desperation mode. I feel like we gotta stop being desperate to do what we know is right and just do it. It's like, shouts out to some more news for real, because one, great information being shared here. Two, man, if you don't know, you don't know. And I didn't know. I didn't know just how, like, predatory and malicious the GOP currently is, and still trying to take away people's rights to vote. Which is super whack. Which, like, as the American people, they want, well, I guess their whole thing is just still based in racism. So it's not like, they're not using logic for the most part. They're having an underlying, like, goal, which is to disenfranchise, to take the power away from, to take the rights away from anybody that doesn't really look like them. The whole underlying thing for like America as a whole is just for white men and nobody else, white heterosexual men and nobody else that own land. So even it's a much smaller that own capital. So we're not even talking about like the common, like, regular white dudes you see like walking. If they have to walk somewhere, then it's not for them. You feel me? If you're somebody who doesn't, like, you don't know, like, how you're gonna, you don't know how you're gonna pay for, like, whatever, you're living check to check, you're living however, it's not for you. The GOP is not for you, because it's more so this whole system that has been, it's like a tool. Politics is like a tool for the rich people, for the rich and wealthy, to, like, change things for their own benefit. They're not really looking out for the common man or nothing like that. But it's kind of buns. It's not just kind of buns, but it's super whack. At listening to this, I don't know how much you guys heard, but if you guys want to go watch this video, it's the latest video from Some More News. They're talking about, what's it called?
Where you have to pay back tax.
The GOP, your right/ability to vote. Yeah, it's kind of wild, man. We're gonna re-listen to this a little bit. I'm gonna keep this on while you guys are here, because I just want to get up and straighten my space a little bit. But I am going to rewind a tad bit. Do I restart the whole thing? Yeah.
Well, again, can't stress enough that the GOP, which stands for God, has been attacking voting rights long before Donald Trump's presidential dreams were put into this gobby eye. Ever since the Supreme Court screwed around with the Voting Rights Act, red states have passed nearly 100 laws designed to kneecap the democratic process. Whether it was Trump's baseless braying over the 2020 election that allowed them to openly launch a full assault, fueled almost entirely on the right-wing fear-mongering of immigration.
A massive line of immigrants getting licensed, and they had attacked at a table outside the front door of the DMV, registering them to vote. It was all, the signs were in Spanish. It was an obvious Democrat operation on this voting, he said.
The reality is, the plan from the beginning, get these people here as fast as possible and get them voting. I truly believe that the Congresswoman is absolutely right. And most states, only 3 states actually have laws that require proof of citizenship.
People who have lived here all of their life, pay taxes, follow the rules, been good citizens, would find their votes diluted to the point of irrelevance.
They're coming to vote! No vote! Because after all, if you can double up your racist boogeyman talking points, well, that's just efficient storytelling, folks. Immigrants are, according to Republicans, the source of every problem going on right now. They're why you have that canker sore. Without looking, I'm guessing they blamed the disappointing new Star Wars game on immigration. So this has been a Trump talking point for a while, but of course has ramped up as we near the election. And while this is probably obvious, there's no real evidence of migrants stealing votes actually being a concern for our elections. And the majority of these claims, like that clip we showed about registering immigrants to vote, have been debunked. It's a very tired slice of BS at this point, designed exclusively to harness racist fears. Kind of like saying immigrants are eating your pets. More on that next week. And yet somehow, this lie around election irregularities was given legitimacy, starting when Trump took his case to the Supreme Court, or rather, attempted to. The old scrote had no interest in fast-tracking these cases and ultimately decided to let the state courts deal with them instead. But that decision, of course, came with a single dissent from billionaire-backed, coincidentally friendly with billionaires, judge, and sketchy motor coach enthusiast Clarence Thomas. And since then, we've gotten headlines every year about states enacting more and more voting restrictions. At least 9 states have passed restrictive voting laws in just 2024, with the majority of these laws being punitive measures that make voting needlessly complicated. The narrative being that these new laws are designed to protect us from illegal voting. For example, when Texas removed 1.1 million names from their voter rolls, Texas Governor Greg Abbott credited their 2021 Senate Bill 1, saying, quote, "We will continue to actively safeguard Texans' sacred right to vote while also aggressively protecting our elections from illegal voting." Wowee jeez! That is a lot of illegal voters, I do declare. Except, non-wowie jeez. Non-wowie jeez. Non-wowie jeez. It turns out that, as Abbott himself noted, around 920,000 of the names removed were ineligible due to an unverified address or being dead, which is just common maintenance that states have to do on account of death being a thing, for now. It should be noted that even these regular voter purges are still pretty f***ed up, since they often axe anyone who simply hasn't voted for a while. I just realized there was a time limit, like a freaky photo bucket account, and so ultimately, of that 1.1 million, only 6,500 were names of people who weren't U.S. citizens, and even that 6,500 number might still be too high. Texas actually has a pretty sad track record of purging voters with outdated information regarding citizenship. This includes one incident in 2019 that erroneously flagged 95,000 people as non-citizens, forcing the Secretary of State to resign and also a bunch of lawsuits. In other words, Senate Bill 1 didn't really actually do anything previous legislation and protections didn't already do. It's like if I said my tie protected me from Dracula's, the proof being that I'm currently not fighting Gary Oldman. I mean, I'll get him someday, obviously. We'll see. He won't. So we get him. But what Senate Bill 1 did do, however, was limit the time window that polls were to be open and added restrictions upon those who vote through drive-by or mail-in ballots. It also gave the Texas Attorney General Ken Not Cool Like Bill Paxton license to crack down on illegal voter registration, issuing search warrants to investigate threats to our democracy. Like this 87-year-old woman.
She said officers questioned her for hours, confiscated her phone and computer, and made her wait outside as they searched her home.
I said, let me get dressed. And she said, God's sake,
What were you wearing?
my nightgown? And I had all these policemen around me. It was embarrassing, humiliating. I was so angry. It was horrible.
Yeah, go get him, Ken. Terrorize Grady. Kill her. My goodness. That lady was a volunteer for the League of United Latin American Citizens and one of several members of LULAC that Paxton had raided, along with several Democratic Party organizers. Call me Cody Robichoni. Don't actually. I don't want that to catch on. Please don't. Shouldn't have said that. Don't. But it seems like they're just going after their political opponents, and this is kind of microcosm of this entire quest to, big chubby quotes, protect our elections. They take a problem that doesn't exist and create some new restriction they claim will solve that problem that never existed, while coincidentally targeting Democrat voters with those restrictions, or just voters in general, or rather any voter who might have an ounce of hardship. For example, Idaho passed a law making it a crime to deliver another person's mail-in ballots. This puts unneeded restrictions on the elderly and people with mobility issues, and basically makes it illegal to help someone who can't get to the post office. There is some wiggle room for mail-in votes to be delivered by caregivers, relatives, and postal workers. But the bill also outlaws family members from delivering ballots if they, quote, influence the voter in any way. And what the hell does that mean? How is that measured or enforced? And since when is it wrong or illegal to politically influence your family members? Are they going to outlaw Thanksgiving debates with your uncle? Isn't the entire point of elections to politically influence people? Why do they think people put those little signs on their lawns? For the aesthetic? The blue and red cardboard really complements the azaleas? And so ultimately, the only reason to add this restriction is to limit voting for anyone who is disabled or elderly and lives below a certain tax bracket. Every single law is designed to be a bureaucratic hurdle that specifically affects poorer people with less time to navigate the process. Such is the case with Indiana's House Bill 1264, which requires election officials to compare voter registration info from the Bureau of Motor Vehicles to identify non-citizens. If you get flagged, you have 30 days to prove citizenship or your registration is revoked. And while that sounds reasonable, those BMV records are typically out of date, meaning that if you're one of the 8,000 residents per year that have become a naturalized citizen in the state, your name will still be flagged if those records were to get updated. And not the a bunch of hoops to fix it. More like BM records, am I right? Am I right? Valid records. Hoops. The bill also has a proof of residency requirement that puts unnecessary voting hurdles on college students, unhoused, elderly residents that don't have traditional utility bills, not to mention people who literally just moved there. If you've ever moved while poor, you probably know exactly the kind of stress they're adding to you. So now you have to navigate voting registration on top of finding a truck, taking time off from work, and getting Spectrum on the phone to tell them to stop service at your old place to become a Wi-Fi enabled cable-ready Hoosier because you just moved to Indiana, like Gene Hackman in Hoosiers. Hoosiers. We love saying it. Hoosiers. Hoosiers. You've probably noticed that a lot of this, coincidentally, restricts college students from voting, like Arizona, which passed legislation that requires proof of citizenship before being able to register to vote, which directly impacts students and younger people who don't have state ID. Tennessee shortened the deadline for requesting an absentee ballot while also limiting who can register other people to vote, and even establishing a $5,000 fine to a person or persons who break that law, even unintentionally. And this is on top of Tennessee already having a record low voter turnout due to how hard they made it to vote there. You know those people who stand outside of supermarkets or music festivals and try to get young people to register to vote? You know, nerds. That's who they are going after with these laws by putting a bunch of restrictions on who's allowed to volunteer and how much time they have to submit these voter applications. Kansas and Florida also passed similar legislation. It specifically targets voter registration groups and threatens violators with fines up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. The end result here is just a bunch of legal intimidation of people whose only crime is wanting young people to be excited about voting, which, to be fair, is a gross thing to want. J.D. Vance Mark I, a.k.a. Ron DeSantis, J.D. Vance, this guy, also passed stricter mail-in ballot measures that have decreased mail-in voting requests by half since 2022. from 4.3 million voters to just over 2 million. It's important to remember that while it looks like they just want fewer people to vote, which is already weird, they actually want fewer certain people to vote. Specifically, anyone who doesn't have the time or money to deal with these new restrictions, as well as anyone who votes via mail, which happens to be largely Democrats. And so, throughout the country, millions of Americans could be impacted by these new voting laws, especially those who live in states that have passed stringent photo ID requirements since 2020. In fact, for a University of Maryland study, 29 million Americans didn't have a current driver's license, and 7.6 million Americans didn't have any non-expired photo ID in 2020, especially those who are Black, Hispanic, and or under the age of 29. There are also stumbling blocks where trans people either need their IDs updated after their gender affirmation, live in a state in which they can't change their IDs to their identity, or live in a state that requires them to provide proof of their gender affirmation surgery. So, again, they are making it harder to vote for poor people, college age kids, people with disabilities, anyone who just became a citizen or is changing their gender identity, and folks who are Black and Hispanic. And gee, I wonder if there's a pattern with that group of people. Who can say? Many people can say, who can say? But the GOP isn't just enacting a bunch of useless laws designed to make voting harder. They're also training thousands of poll watchers to monitor voters on election day, which could further intimidate those waiting in line to vote or election volunteers. They're even recruiting people to observe voting in areas they don't reside in, specifically taking people from suburban right-leaning areas and sticking them in left-leaning cities. Because if a place doesn't vote the way they want, the strategy is to make that place harder to vote in. But we're going to talk more about that after the break, as well as about one specific state that seems to be the central hub for all of their election shenanigans, we'll call them. But first, gobble up these ads, yummy, yummy. Oh, I'm really going to throat those ads.
Hello, ad watchers. It's Katie. As I always say, life is like a bowl of grandma's mystery soup. You just don't know what you're going to get, and you're not allowed to ask. A lot of nervous answers. And that's why I use SimpliSafe to make sure she doesn't come around no more. We've partnered with SimpliSafe to offer you an exclusive 50% discount on a new system, plus a free indoor security camera with Fast Protect. Not everyone has a grandmother that wants to break into their tool shed, but if you have a reason for a little extra protection, SimpliSafe is the easiest and most hassle-free way to do it. It works right out of the box, has no cancellation or hidden fees, and it works. With their 24/7 live guard protection, their agents can act within 5 seconds of receiving alarm, which is good because she's fast. Inhuman fast. It's terrifying. So if you're worried about that life suit or a thieving monster grandma, this is your chance to check out SimpliSafe. In fact, you can check out that exclusive 50% discount on a new system, plus a free indoor security camera with Fast Protect monitoring. All you need to do is visit simplysafe.com/morenews. But the offer is for a limited time only, so be sure to order today. Again, that's simplysafe.com/morenews. There is no safe like SimpliSafe.
Woo! It's that time of year when I start to do the Monster Mash. That's where I mash together all the food I have in my house to make an edible paste. Then I eat it like a monster. But the Monster Mash wouldn't be complete without fresh food from Hungry Root. They send you fresh, high-quality groceries directly to your door. Produce, meat, seafood, snacks, sweets, anything you might want to mash.
I'll be right back.
They have. But more than that,
Enjoy
Hungry
some
Root will
more.
learn your personal health goals and food restrictions and cooking preferences and build an automated but customizable shopping cart for all your MASH needs that week. It's like having your own MASH assistant right there in your computer box. Lately, I've been mashing their braised lemongrass tofu nuggets. mash it with a little bit of sauce, mash some noodles in there. Oh, delicious monster mash indeed. Oh, I can taste it already. Because life is a real graveyard smash sometimes. So why not make things a little easier on yourself? And right now, Hungry Root is offering some more news listeners 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life of the subscription. Just go to hungryroot.com/more news to get 40% off your first delivery and get your free veggies. That's hungryroot.com/more news. Don't forget to use our link so they know we sent you and it can catch on in a flash. Welcome back. Are you full? Did we fill you up with sweet, sweet ads? Good. Because we're going to get back to talking about all the ways our upcoming election could be cluster-mucked or mustard-fucked by the new voting restrictions introduced by the GOP. And so far, we've mainly talked about the typical ways Republicans have always screwed elections. They've very often gone after mail-in ballots and college kids and have generally pushed to make it harder and harder for people to vote. But thanks to Trump specifically questioning the integrity of the process and drumming up conspiracy theories around specifically and conveniently battleground states, the GOP has now begun to inject their sticky fingers into the actual process, claiming that they're simply trying to protect election integrity. Kind of like walking into the dressing room of a beauty pageant while claiming you're just inspecting it. And probably the darkest example of this is happening in Georgia, the ass state. Georgia's GOP-controlled state election board passed a new rule that gives board members more discretion and power to delay the certification of election results. This new rule allows county board members to hold up certification by merely saying that they aren't confident with the results. That's it. No discussion or questioning whether the claim is in bad faith. A board member can delay democracy by just saying they don't like the result. Much like when a 5-year-old wants to redo a hand at Uno because they frustratingly don't fully understand numbers, colors, empathy, or even fair play yet. The difference being that you can just shove over a 5-year-old, especially if they don't know your name. Maybe not that. While these board members are much harder to dislodge, one such member is the unshovable Julie Adams, the regional coordinator for the Election Integrity Network, which was straight up founded for political purposes by an election denier named Rita Mitchell, who even advised Trump when he made this call to Georgia state officials.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes. So what are we going to do here? But I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
And yet Julie, also a vocal election denier, obviously, and again, a member of an election denier group founded by a Trump advisor, is somehow on the Fulton County Elections Board. Somehow. And it probably comes to no surprise that Julie has already begun to screw with the elections there. Just earlier this year, she refused to certify Georgia primary results on what was essentially a matter of principle, saying that she couldn't accept the results because of vague problems she perceived with the election administration. She also sued Fulton County. She then asked for a bunch of materials she'd need to certify. You can actually watch a 7-hour video of her going through these documents, if you're sick like that, before Julie asked for even more documents. Ultimately, her lawsuit was thrown out by a judge due to a technicality, but the damage was already done by that point. Adams didn't like who was winning and wanted to show everyone that she could obstruct the entire process and would gladly do this come November. If you're thinking, wow, they need to get her out of there. Turns out they did the opposite, instead adding more election deniers to state election boards, such as Janelle King, a conservative podcaster with no election experience that, wouldn't you know it, questioned the results of the 2020 presidential election. In fact, that board now has a majority of election deniers, and, with Trump's blessing, they've been using that majority to pass all sorts of new rules specifically designed to draw out the certification process. This includes adapting continuous hand counts, and that rule I mentioned allowing local election board members to refuse to certify results. Essentially, they are doing anything they can to delay certification so as to give Trump as much time as possible to scam his way into power, which, if you recall, was exactly what he was trying to do with the phone call during the last election, a phone call that he was advised to do by the people who have now hijacked Georgia's election process. So just to reiterate, if these freaks get their wish, the next presidential election could be decided by 3 MAGA weirdos delaying the certification in a single swing state, and all they have to do is say the vibes are off. Seems like, perhaps, something's broken. But good news, the Democrats have sued the Georgia State Election Board, so I'm sure it'll all work out. Anyway, this isn't the only hit Georgia is playing. They're on that midnight train to them. Their governor, Brian Kemp, passed a measure that allows counties to reduce the number of voting machines, which of course could significantly add to Georgia's absurd wait time. But probably the most, as the kids say, whack thing they've done is pass a law that allows anyone to challenge a person's eligibility to vote. And people have already begun to do this. In one county, a single lonely man challenged over 13,000 voters. That's 8% of the voters in that county. Because voting should be just like a battle royale, you see. It's not enough that I get to vote, I have to stop your vote. They've also recently made it illegal to vote if you don't list a residential address on your registration form. That will come into effect in the next election. But for example, this will disqualify anyone who is staying at a homeless shelter, or I guess anyone in between homes at all, or one of the many reasons I can't think of that someone might not have a firm residential address. It's weird and intrusive that they would require that, is my point. And while Georgia has made it much harder to vote, they've actually made it much easier to unvote. Really seems like they don't want people to vote. Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, introduced a brand new webpage where you can unregister to vote in just a few clicks online. Rock no vote. You might know him as the guy Trump had the perfect phone call with. No, the other perfect phone call. And also that guy who shows up in every Pixar film. Great, amazing talent. And while it already feels weird for a politician to be focused on unregistering people to vote, what made this page particularly egregious is that, thanks to it being made by politicians, it was super easy to hack.
You do still need name, county, and birthday, just to be clear. Now this is where the magic begins. You're going to right-click the driver's license field. You're going to click Inspect. That opens up a console window. You're going to hit Delete, and just delete it. And then you're going to click Submit. And your registration has been canceled. It's as easy as that.
What you just saw is someone simply deleting the field that required a driver's license number. Meaning that as long as you know someone's name, county, and date of birth, you could delete anyone's registration. Legal groups have already called for a cease and desist on the website, along with suing the state. While the bug has reportedly been fixed, the damage has been done, as the Office of Georgia's Secretary of State has already confirmed the web form has been misused. In other words, this entire quest to protect elections has folded in on itself to the point that it's compromising elections instead, which honestly was probably always the plan. Georgia was and will be a vital state in these elections, and so it's extremely insidious and transparent how much attention they are putting into gaining the voting process. It's a prime example of every trick they're trying to pull, and also why we, perhaps, need to completely rethink the electoral process. Or at the very least, I'm just going to put this out there, ban the entire state of Georgia from voting. Wait, that's a terrible idea. We should. We're not. Don't do that. But it's also not the only swing state where election deniers are infiltrating the process, as both Arizona and Nevada are dealing with this too. Election boards are being purposefully filled with MAGA ghouls for the sole purpose of slowing down the certification process in the event of a Trump loss. And even if they aren't on these boards, there's been enough outside pressure to demand that they do needless recounts. In Washoe County, Nevada, one moderate Republican and board member was forced to block the certification of her own victory after being pressured by right-wing election deniers. The This push was in part fueled by a wealthy businessman and election denier named Robert Beavers, who has been using his money to fund Bruce's recounts and to harass election officials. It's just one rich dude gopping up the process because he personally doesn't like the outcome. Fortunately, the Washoe County election was ultimately certified after 3 hours of public comments. But holy upper decker shit. This is all obviously because the dress rehearsal for the main event. I just keep coming back to how obvious this all is, and how truly evil it is to use the guise of election integrity to literally do the opposite. Because, in theory, it's good to want fair elections, which is probably why we should absolutely reform our election process. Maybe even get money out of the process, who knows? And while some of these new laws are fairly mundane, they're being used to mask other less mundane laws. Laws that very clearly are specifically designed to make new hurdles for certain people. No, Title Monkey. Minds are white, over 30, and exclusively heterosexual. Especially that last one. It's in the Mime Bible. No commandments in that Bible. Stern books. No, I'm talking about laws that are so overtly racist that they are literally Jim Crow laws. As in, there's an actual Jim Crow era law in Mississippi that prohibits people from voting if they have been convicted of a crime from a list of 22 different categories. Some of the crimes include really minor stuff like receiving stolen goods, timber larceny, and writing a bad check, receiving stolen goods, or cutting down a tree on someone else's property, or just having a check bounce. These are all things that can make you ineligible to vote in Mississippi. The rule was overturned in 2023 by a lower court because it violated the Eighth Amendment's banning of cruel and unusual punishment. But then that overturning was overturned by the conservative-leaning Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. So now it's back, like Beetlejuice. And so this reinstated rule disqualifies nearly 10% of the state's voting age population, primarily black voters. And if you think it wasn't specifically designed to disenfranchise the black community, one of the people who originally made the law, when they were gathering in 1890 to specifically talk about voting rights, said, quote, "Let's tell the truth if it bursts the bottom of the universe. We came here to exclude the Negro. Nothing short of this will answer." That is an actual quote from then Justice Solomon S. Calhoun, who is not a cartoon Confederate bullfrog I just made up, but an actual judge. And now that explicitly, vocally racist law has been reinstated. You can't pretend it exists for any other reason but to exclude black people. The bullfrog literally said it was. Laws around felons being able to vote have, of course, been particularly bogus, as the kids say, for a while. Currently, only 23 states allow people to vote immediately after certain prison time. Also, in Maine and Vermont, you never lose your right to vote for a conviction. Props to rights. There's, of course, been an equal push against it. Going back to Florida, we have to. In 2018, the state voted to restore the voting rights of the formerly incarcerated. But then Republicans hastily tacked on a law requiring those returning citizens to pay off all of the fines and fees associated with the conviction before being qualified to vote. And while that's already a dick move, even if you think it's a fine and good idea, they also failed to create a system or database to determine or keep track of who owes what and how much. And so they essentially circumvented the will of the people with a purposefully obtuse process that, for some, has made it impossible to buy back their vote.
The judge ordered you to pay how much in restitution?
$190,000. How much of that have you paid?
I'm down to $180,000, so $10,000 about.
There is quite literally no way for that woman to ever afford to vote again. Unless she was rich, which is exactly the point. Also the point, making the process as obtuse as possible so people simply don't know if they can vote. If you've ever, paid taxes, you know exactly how hard it is to figure out what you owe the government or what payments have gone through.
So, can I vote? Possibly. I want to vote, but I don't want to break any law.
So, to recap, the people of Florida voted to restore voting rights for the formerly incarcerated. And then the lawmakers bogged that down with a bunch of hoops to jump through, and also created no system for helping people navigate those hoops. And what happens if you accidentally try to vote with unpaid fines? Well, they fucking arrest you for voter fraud.
That's fucking
So,
wild.
of course, like right now, we're gonna have to take you to jail.
That's the thing. I don't know exactly what happened with it, but you do have the warrant.
That is footage of visibly confused officers arresting people who have no idea what they did wrong. People who were, and this is true, registered and given voter ID cards by the state. Like, it's rare to see cops act reluctant to arrest somebody, but no one in those videos knows what's happening, because these people were seemingly set up to fail. That's like entrapment, right? Not the sexy kind either. The state voted to say they could vote. They were given voter ID cards and registered. And then lawmakers added a single loophole so they could gather them up the moment they actually tried to vote. That is beyond. It's so close to you can't even see what looks like anymore. It's also clearly voter intimidation on top of that. And above all, it's designed to stop lower class and primarily black people from voting. This tactic is not all that different from a Jim Crow era cumulative poll tax, where you'd have to pay back taxes in order to vote. And it goes directly against the will of the people. The same thing happened in Nebraska when they passed a bill allowing newly released felons to vote, which was then blocked by the state's Republican Attorney General. But at least those states are trying. In Alabama, lawmakers have actually expanded their felony ban, passing a bill that added 120 new felonies that could revoke a person's right to vote. Fortunately, a judge ruled that it was too early for the bill to go into effect during this upcoming election, but it will turn these current voters into non-voters next time. My goodness, they just hate voting. How odd, how very quite odd. And so here's a question. What is this all going to look like in November? Great question, Cody. You're very handsome and spry. So after the final break, which is now, we're going to answer that perfect, very smart question that I, perfectly, very smart, and handsomely asked. 1 second.
Hey kiddos, it's your pal Katie. Ever since I was a kid, it's been my dream to smash through walls like the Kool-Aid Man. That means strengthen every part of my body, including my immune system. And that's why I've been using Armra Colostrum. It's a proprietary concentrate of bovine colostrum that they claim will strengthen your immunity, boost hair growth and skin radiance, and help with that gut health. It is made from sustainably sourced colostrum taken from the surplus supply of grass-fed cows, meaning that the baby cows get what they need first, and then we sneak in there and bow our heads, take what's left. Because while we all want to smash through walls whenever someone says our name, we still need to do that responsibly, okay? Armra Colostrum has told us that they have an unwavering commitment to quality control throughout their entire process. So maybe you've been curious about trying colostrum in the past. Well, now you can. We've worked out a special offer for our audience. Receive 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmra.com/more-news or enter more news to get 15% off your first order. That's tryarmra.com/more-news. Try Armra.
Hello, my sweets. It's Cody J. The J stands for Java. I'm a big coffee cup, I am. Fill me up, I always say. And if you make coffee at home, get ready to discover how much better it can be with Trade. As America's #1 specialty coffee marketplace, Trade doesn't make any of its own coffees. Instead, they bring together top independent roasters from small towns across the USA. Places you'd love if you live nearby, and curate the best of the best for you to enjoy at home. You like fruit? They have this fruity honey processed medium roast from Alma that'll fill you all the way up. It's tart, like me. But shucks, that's not all they have. Trade has made over 435,000 perfect coffee matches to date. But if you're not fully satisfied with your first coffee, they replace it for free. Because hey now, Hey now, if you are also a big coffee cup, like me, you should be getting the best selection out there with Trade. No matter how you brew, they got you. They got all the best beans. Cody loves their beans. That's coffee at home made better. Head to Trade. No, don't head to Trade. Head to, I'm gonna say it right, head to drinktrade.com/more news to receive your first free bag. I'm gonna say it again just so you know I said it correctly. Head to drinktrade.com/more news to receive your first bag free. We are the backest we've ever been for this report. We talked about how Republicans are making it harder for people to vote, especially poor or marginalized groups, while also injecting their own operatives into the voting process at the local level. It seems that, to them, the clearest path to victory is to obstruct democracy, which, as I also pointed out, is odd. It sure is odd they don't want people to vote. And going back to the 2020 election, all of this has been hyper-fueled by Donald Trump constantly crying foul while on the 2024 campaign trail, claiming that the only way Democrats would win this time is if they cheat. And so, come election day, it almost feels like the actual vote count won't matter so much as the litigation that will follow. Like, the team with the best lawyers will win, I guess, which would be comforting if we were just dealing with Trump's lawyers. But unfortunately, the entire GOP is getting involved. Thanks to the Trump-appointed RNC president, Republicans have a gaggle of lawyers ready to challenge any results they don't like. And in fact, they are already suing some states before the first ballot is cast. Both parties have begun to raise money for the inevitable litigation process that's sure to be thrilling and not at all demoralizing. And so, if I had to make a bold, Nate Silver-esque prediction, I can't because I'm not sweaty enough, but it would be that, barring massive voter turnout and a win in the ballpark of a landslide, we will have no idea who won the election for a long fucking time. Which is great, because we love drawn-out elections, don't we? No matter how straightforward the results, if those results put Trump in the loser column, he's going to fight it. And that's the optimistic outcome, because there is a whole other timeline where, instead of the GOP pretending the election was stolen, the election actually gets stolen. That's what we've been circling this entire time, right? Along with making it harder, goppers have been injecting MAGA loyalists into every step of the voting process, including the poll watching process.
The RNC chair and the Trump team are in Tampa trying to energize voters.
Technically, it was billed as a training event for Election Day volunteers. Speakers offering keynotes on fair, accurate, secure, and transparent results, but press wasn't allowed to watch.
I'm certainly not against poll watching or transparency in the voting process, which is why it's been a thing for a while, you know? But what Trump did was essentially push this idea that the current system was corrupt, causing most of his followers to believe him. And now they are all cramming themselves into the poll watching process, promising to be good moral Hank Hills, when we all know it's more of a Dale Gribble situation. Yes, it's funny to throw the whole rigged election stuff right back at them, but it's not wild or conspiratorial to question Republican poll-watching ethics, as they have had a long history of voter intimidation. Back in 1981, the RNC founded a group called the National Ballot Security Task Force, which made headlines after patrolling the gubernatorial New Jersey election with guns, specifically harassing minority voters. 1981, folks, that is not that long ago. We had not one, but 2 Star Warses by then. 3 if you got the holiday special, which we do. A happy life day to you and all who celebrate. Luckily, regarding whatever we was talking before about Star Wars, the DNC sued the RNC for the racist gun intimidation stuff, and something called a consent decree barred the GOP from creating any ballot security measures like that again. That decree, however, has since expired, leaving many to wonder what kind of grand old bullshit the GOP might pull on election day. As an aside, it seems very up that one of the 2 major parties had to be legally prevented from going around threatening voters with guns. Again, this all seems very broken. If you don't think this is going to come into play, GOP-led states have recently provided laws that support these poll watchers with new and exciting powers, such as making it a crime for election officials to obstruct or interfere with a poll watcher's actions, or giving poll watchers the authority to go anywhere they want, including the actual tabulation centers. So what does this all look like on election day? What are Trump and the GOP hoping for? Well, considering that a Republican hasn't won the popular vote since 2004, they're certainly not hoping for everyone to rock the vote, as we've shown. But rather, they're hoping that enough black and disenfranchised people simply won't bother enabling a bunch of close races in swing states. And thanks to all the MAGA loyalists being injected into the process, they are probably hoping that poll watchers and election board officials will stall the process while Trump claims victory in the meantime, causing enough confusion and lawsuits and media attention-seeking to push the election his way. And in the worst timeline, Trump might not even have to be that tactful. If January 6th is any indication, he'll have no qualms with simply grabbing power and saying it was always his to begin with. And we especially know this since he has already gutted the entire RNC and replaced them with his own weirdo minions. This includes Christina Bobb, a former OANN news host and proud election denier, who is now the RNC's Senior Counsel for Election Integrity, which is a wild job position considering that Bob was indicted for plotting to use fake electors to steal the election in 2020. Despite doing that election fraud, she is still in charge of the RNC's election integrity, meaning that she, this lady in this mugshot that was taken because of her election crimes, is the one in charge of all of those poll watchers. That is so that even some Republican strategists are worried that she'll go rogue and end up getting them banned again from poll watching. Which, first of all, it's cute to think anything she does like that would be considered going rogue, as if that's not why she has the job. It's also such a quaint worry, because I don't think Christina Bobb or any of these MAGA loyalists care about hurting the Republican Party for future elections. Because in their minds, this is either all or nothing.
In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed something you're not going to have to vote.
As we've pointed out before, Trump either has to win the election or face jail time for his many dumb crimes. He's already joked about fleeing the country and has been very cagey about whether or not he will accept defeat. Even his running mate, who knows Trump lost, is too terrified to say he lost in 2020, lest he be, hanged. Who won the 2020?
Just the answer, did Donald Trump win? Yes. He did win.
He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just object. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
Of course, Vance has also said that he wouldn't have certified the election, so we already know where he stands. Next to Trump, these two guys standing here next to each other. Trump pretty much has nothing to lose, which is a wild trait for a presidential candidate to have. The only thing he has to lose is the election. This is all to say that it's hard to predict how far he and his supporters will go to try and win. Maybe he'll be too tired, but this desperation is on top of all the standard, somehow expected ways the GOP will try to throw as many obstacles in the voting process, which is already a travesty. Like, it's so weird that one of the two vital political parties regularly and mundanely hinges their power on circumventing the voting process. Just like how they've stacked the Supreme Court to taint punch the will of the majority, it should chill us to the bone that they've gerrymandered and Jim Crow'd their way into power. Because apparently that's the only way they see their ideas as viable in a democracy. That is, as the kids say, chuds. The kids say chuds? But yeah, that's totally chuds, Mike Robos. I've heard that. Totally chuds, Mike Robos. Yes, perfect. Anyway, I guess vote. That's literally all we can do, at least right now, I guess. Vote. Vote and get people to vote. But I guess don't influence someone you know's vote, or then you can't vote? Whatever. I mean, we should probably get rid of the Electoral College and perhaps push for some reforms and ranked choice voting and all that. We should also probably think hard about why the GOP's entire strategy is to stop us from voting. But right now, The only way we can maybe fight back from all the election obstruction is to make the results overwhelming, so that the results of the next election can't possibly be denied or litigated or gobbed up. Vote. Even if you're in a blue state. Just vote. Vote like hell. Be really cool while you vote. Down ballot too. Really blacken into circles with your pen, or yank the ballot crank with a vengeance, or push that voting machine button with 2 fingers. Hell, make it 3 fingers. Vote as much as you can. Vote twice. Use the names of dead people. That's not illegal, right? Right. Vote a few times right now. Ten votes for South Park. Oh wait, no, I meant to Brandon Burnham. What's up, you pieces of pie, sweets of pie? Hi, everybody, my sweets and pieces of pie. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. It would really help us out. Leave a comment if you want to. Or if you don't want to, you don't have to. We've got a patreon.com/some more news. Check out our podcast, Even More News. You can watch it on this channel or listen to it in the podcast area. You can also listen to this show, which is also on the channel that you just watched, as a podcast where the podcasts are. It's both. It's synergistic. It's integration. We also have a merch store, which is integrated into the internet, so it's available on the internet. We got good merch there. You can get, look at this art with Warbo popping out. Oh god, it's so disgusting. Look at that. Oh my gosh, here's Katie being really, really mean to me and making me eat eggs. And here is a sweet, sweet chicken. Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, he's gonna be impressed with one day. Landslide victory for this little fella. They know. They're honking for that Warbo. I'll give you love, Warbo.
Gotta love Warmo. Everybody loves Warmo.
For a limited time, get a free upgrade to Home Internet Plus. Just $50 a month.
Rainbow Factor Opticals. Over 50 pet surprises. They're all so cute. Gotta hug them all.
What's going on, guys? This is Robin, and we are here with Absolute Batman and DC's new Absolute Universe, which is just DC's version of the Ultimate Universe in Marvel Comics. But Scott Snyder killed this story. It's amazing. So what this does is this opens up with Gotham City. And initially we follow this guy on a motorcycle, and he has this really, really cool monocle, right, where he says, "Hello again, Gotham. It's been a long time. So who are you these days? Who have you become while I was gone? You're prettier, I'll give you that, taller and brighter. My third lap around, and I still cannot find it. Where's your heart? You used to have a center, hot and beating, but something's hollowed you out. In fact, I barely recognize you anymore. I'm not sure I like this new you, Gotham, but that's okay. I don't think you're going to like me much either. My name is Alfred Pennyworth, and I'm here to do some bad things." This is so cool, because I'll tell you guys right now, yes, this is a Batman story. Alfred Pennyworth is amazing in this story. I don't think he's ever been better in DC Comics than he is in this story, and it's solid. And so what he does is he basically makes his way back to his house, which isn't really much of an apartment at all, because he's not part of the Wayne family. At least he's not the kindly butler that we're traditionally used to. Scott Snyder leans very heavily into Alfred's military history, which is to say, in DC Comics, Alfred has a history largely associated with the military. Sometimes he was a soldier, sometimes he was a medic. It depends on what era of DC Comics we're talking about. In this instance, he has not left it behind, and in fact, he's really more a soldier of fortune than anything else. Of course, he is still estranged from his daughter Julia, just like he is in a lot of the other stories that exist out there. The difference here is that unlike Batman Eternal in the main DC universe, where she ultimately seemed to reconcile with Alfred, here, none of that happens, right? She's just like, don't ever contact me again. And so for Alfred himself, he signs into a secure connection to basically his handler, the folks that paid him in order to do whatever it is that he needs to do. And so what he does is he asks, what's the assignment? And they say, in the past 3 months, a gang known as the Party Animals has been sowing chaos, butchering citizens at random, raising the murder rate by 700%, almost single-handedly. A daycare was torched yesterday. They danced outside while 32 people died. And so Alfred's just kind of like, I read the document, right? But like, why did you pull me out of Singapore? I was this close to the target. I've been chasing him for like 5 years. And that's when they say, you're needed here. Now the cool thing is they also give him another piece of information. And they say, there might be another player in town. We've only caught glimpses, but he seems to be circling the gang as well. Now of course, based on the little image they give him, clearly it's Batman. And I'll tell you guys right now, absolute Batman is amazing. Dude, oh my god, I love the way that Bruce Wayne is handled in this story. It's phenomenal. And so what they do is they send him coordinates to do 2 things. The first is to monitor the Party Animal gang, and the second is to seemingly keep tabs on Batman. And that's when you switch over to Bruce Wayne himself. Now, this is also another big difference between the main DC universe and this absolute universe, in the sense that you pick up in Croc's gym when Bruce Wayne basically starts practicing with a punching bag, and you get a little bit of a throwback to his childhood, where he's spending time with his father. Now there is a kind of lesson that goes back and forth, where after studying the lions and everything, his father's like, you know, what did you learn? And the response of really Batman is, it says that he sleeps 20 hours a day. Plus, he gets fed prime rib 3 times a day and never has to be afraid of anything. This kid's living the life. Now what's interesting here is he addresses his father as Mr. Wayne. There's a reason for that, and it's actually a really, really, really cool reason. But at the end of the day, Thomas Wayne asks him, are you excited for the movie later on tonight? Of course, Bruce Wayne says, well, you know, I'm more excited for that than anything else. And so ultimately, it's just kind of like, cool, right? Let's get going, class. And so that's when you realize Thomas Wayne in the absolute universe is a teacher, right? He teaches elementary school kids. He's not the ultra wealthy industrialite guy that we're familiar with in the main DC universe. But then shots start ringing out in the zoo. Now, of course, this leads to kind of flashing back to the moment, Bruce Wayne punching the bag, basically breaking it, and then meeting with what you and I know is Killer Croc. Now, he's not really the villain that we're familiar with. In fact, one of the other cool things, this is development here, is that there is a kind of conversation back and forth where they talk about how, like, Ozzy or Oswald Cobblepot effectively hooked up Killer Croc with an exotic pet license, so that's why he walks around with crocodiles and snakes and all kinds of cool reptiles. But the other thing is, they aren't really criminals. In fact, Killer Croc seems very, very active within the city of Gotham as somebody trying to improve the city, which is really, really cool. And again, we'll see how far reaching that goes here in a minute. But you end up learning that, like, Selina Kyle, Killer Croc, seemingly Oswald Cobblepot, and most likely the Riddler, just the red-headed kid in the glasses, they all go back to being childhood friends. Right, so like it's not as though they just kind of met each other indiscriminately along the way as Batman was being a villain or at least being a superhero fighting villains, and that they just kind of did their villainous thing and that was it. It's cool that you get this history here. And so after that, you switch over to this just giant yacht out there in the water where you basically have a meeting between the Falcone-Moroni crime families and the head of the Party Animal gang. And what's interesting here is that this Party Animal leader is absolutely insane. I mean, this dude is really, really dark. Because, of course, with the Falcone and Moroni crime families, they've ran Gotham for years. And so some third party suddenly showing up here out of nowhere and, quote-unquote, upsetting the apple cart, that makes a lot of enemies out of people. And so they ultimately tell them, like, go away or we're going to kill everybody in your gang. That's just what's going to happen. And so what happens is that
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Goldie. Sorry to bother you. I'm looking for those reports from yesterday.
They're already in your desk, Frank.
Of course they are. Got them right here.
Hi, Frank.
Easily isolate phone calls to the driver's seat in the all-new 3-row Infiniti QX80. Experience the luxury of the all-new 2025 Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
Family time is back on the table with Del Corazon.
New in the freezer aisle. The holidays begin here at the Disneyland Resort.
Must broadcast repeats. Life support is failing. The corruption is spreading. Get out! Get out! Broadcast repeats.
Where the heck that remote go? Where I put that remote though? Domo arigato. Domo arigato. Mr. Roboto.
I know you
I'm finna let the block go.
right now. If you somehow manage to click on this video and we're here chilling, chatting right now, I know you can feel it. Because whoever I'm talking to, whoever I keep attracting in my life, I know you are somebody that is very in tune with the universe or something higher than yourself, whether you have faith or not. Okay? This is not a question about whether you believe in something higher than yourself or who you believe in, if you believe in God or the universe or whatever you believe in, okay? This is about having that, like, internal pull towards something that you've never been able to explain. And I feel like at this time in your life, it's really, really heightened. And I just know if you're watching this video right now, it's because everything in your life is about to shift. You know what it is about you? You are somebody that is always attracted to magic and miracles into your life. Always. Always. Look back on your entire life, okay? Look back on who you were as a child. Look back at just your whole journey throughout this. You might be sitting here. You really have to, like, be able to use your discernment and see it from a higher perspective. There has been so many moments of magic. Whoever I'm speaking to, I know it. You are somebody that is very in tune with yourself and your intuition, and I feel like that is really being heightened right now. You guys don't even understand how much the universe is shifting and bending the rules for you at this time of your life. And always, you are somebody that the universe has always bent the rules for. It's like, maybe you are somebody that experienced, like, near-death experiences, or like there was times where things should have really taken you out, but somehow you were like divinely protected and managed to stay alive. Or maybe there were circumstances where like you should have lost everything, but somehow you ended up in a better position than you could have even imagined before. I feel like your entire life has been a series of fortunate events. Maybe that movie is significant to you, a series of unfortunate events. That could have been something you watched as a kid or something. But it's like the way that your life has been designed, it's almost like you've always been given this like cheat code to life, or this like, what is the word?
Favor.
Exception. Right? Brain? Sorry guys, I just got off a long shift right now. My brain is not braining. But it's like you've always been lucky, or like, you know what, and I feel like this could have really made people angry around you because things just always seem to work out for you. And maybe at first you didn't see it as that. Maybe things happened that at first felt like a lot, felt super negative, felt super intense, but it's like now looking back on it, you realize how divinely protected you've always been. It's 4:22 p.m. That could be someone's birthday. But I'm just hearing right now, you guys have to understand that time is truly irrelevant when it comes to how this blessing is going to manifest in your life. And this is what I feel. You are on the precipice of receiving a huge, huge, huge blessing that is going to completely shift and change everything in your life. Like, I'm talking something that you wished for as a child is currently blossoming and blooming. And I feel like it's because You've done the work on yourself to reconnect with your inner child, and you've been spending so much time building this like muscle of trust within yourself. Whether that be through letting go of old things, letting go of limiting beliefs, just doing all of this internal work on yourself has allowed you to develop such a strong relationship to your inner child. Wow, you know what it is? In the strength of that relationship forming, oh, stop. Stop it, spirit. Wow. In the strength of that relationship forming between you and your inner child, they have learned to trust you enough to open up to their dreams that they always held within them. But maybe you had certain dreams that you had as a kid, but you kept them close to your heart, you kept them closed off. Sorry guys, someone is blowing me up and it's distracting me. But you kept those dreams closed off because maybe they never felt realistic to you, or maybe you never had like support in your family where your dreams were something that could be something that you chased after or were capable of chasing after, if that makes sense. But it's like you finally have developed this level of trust between you and yourself, your inner child again, to where they're like, hey, guess what? I have this dream and I know I don't really talk about it to anyone, but I really want to tell you about it. Like that's the energy, that's the vibe that I'm getting from your inner child. They're like coming to you so sweet and so softly and like, listen, I'm kind of nervous talking about this because it's a big dream of mine and I know it might not be realistic, and you are coming in like, hey, stop. I don't know all that realistic BS. I don't want to hear it. All I know, whatever your dream is, we're going to make it happen, baby. We're going to make it happen if it's the last thing we do. And I feel like you're starting to open up to old things that you saw for yourself as a child. And I want you to understand, okay? I need you to know this right now. That the normal rules that apply to so many people that keep themselves so condensed and fit themselves in these little boxes because they're so restricted by their own limiting beliefs and by the beliefs and expectations that society puts upon us. That is not who you are. You are always meant to be somebody that is shifts beyond societal expectations. That, like, I'm just hearing right now, the way your story is going to unfold, you are going to make people believe in miracles. Wow. Do you even realize? Shut up. 5 this up. Sometimes I could just go in the ball and just love life because like the way the universe works sometimes. But it's like how this unfolds for you right now, you guys. And you know what's crazy? Don't even get me worked up right now, babe. You know what's crazy? You've always known it was gonna happen miraculously for you. You've always known it. I know you. I know you know it. I know deep inside of you. Sorry, I'm like, my ears are hot. I need to calm down a little bit, but I'm just excited for you, okay? You've always had this inkling inside of you where you're like, this is going to happen for me in a way that I cannot explain to anybody. I cannot even verbalize it because if I were to tell people that I just know I'm going to be rich, or I just know I'm going to be famous, or I just know I'm going to be successful, I know I'm going to make this happen, I know it, I know I'm going to win the lottery. Like, if I were to verbalize that to people, people would look at me and think I'm crazy, right? But it's like, you know it deep within you, and you know what? If that knowing was placed within you, there's a reason for it, love. There is a reason for it, because I promise you right now, you would not have that inkling inside of your heart, inside of your vessel, if that wasn't something that was actually meant for you, that is calling out to you energetically. The only reason I think we yearn for something so deeply is because on the other side, the energy of that is actually calling us, okay? So right now, it's like this co-mingling of these two energies that were once separated, but they're now feeling each other so deeply, you and whatever this dream, whatever this desire, whatever this knowing is, it's like you're both just calling at each other right now, and I just feel this strong energetic pull, and this is probably what you're feeling right now. You can feel this weird energy. It's almost like things are very heightened. You know something big is coming, but I also feel like right now you're confused. You are confused, my love. You're confused. You don't know left from right. You see what I mean? I just did left and right when this is right and this is left. Like, this is the energy right now. You don't know what's going on. It's like you can literally look down and barely see your toes where you're about to step in front of you. You cannot see your next step. Like, that's the energy that I'm getting right now. There's this analogy that's coming to my head, but it's like when you're driving I hope I get this right. When you're driving and it's like foggy or something, or raining or something, and you have your headlights on, you know how you can't see? You can just see what's in front of you, but you can't see anything ahead? That is the energy that I'm getting right now. It's like you can literally see like tomorrow, but if somebody asks you about next week, honey, I couldn't even tell you what I couldn't tell you nothing. I can barely tell you what I'm eating for lunch tomorrow. Okay, like that's the vibe right now. Things are so foggy and uncertain in your life, and there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. And you're like, hey, why? This is so frustrating. I just want to know, but you're not supposed to know. You know why? 911 is always just saying, this thing is coming in hot. Okay, it's coming in up. Oh, it's got me excited, okay, but I'm just telling you right now, you're not supposed to know about it. You know why? Because you're meant to be surprised. And I don't care if you don't like surprises. I'm sorry. Don't shoot the messenger, but your spirit team is like, hey, they're not supposed to know about it. This is actually supposed to be a big surprise, because you know those feelings that you get when you get surprised, and it's like a good surprise, not a bad surprise, okay? We're not talking trauma. You've been through that. I'm not talking like a PTSD moment where you get your nervous system shuts down. I'm talking about a surprise that happens to you. It's like just butterflies all up within you. That is a feeling that you're about to encounter. I'm telling you guys are about to have a moment where everything just clicks and you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God, I knew it. I knew it. I knew this was going to happen, and I knew it was going to happen miraculously. I just knew it. Please, you guys, I'm begging you. When you have this moment, please come back and tell me. I need to know. I need to know. I'm here, and I'm just cheering you on so much, and I want to be included. I'm not even going to lie to you. I want to be included. I need to know about it, okay? But I promise you, I'm telling you right now, you are about to have that moment, the moment, where you're like, I knew this was going to happen. And you've never been able to explain it to anybody else, but you know what's crazy is you are about to genuinely shock people with how your life unfolds, and that's exactly the whole purpose of all of this. This is the thing that you've been prepared for this whole time, is to be used as this testimony, to be put up on this pedestal, to show the world this is what happens when you believe in miracles, when you have that deep knowing within yourself that something miraculous, something auspicious, something made of pure stardust can happen in your life. And you shut up right now. It's 11:11. I'm sorry, everyone's telling you to shut up. Spirit, I'm not telling you to shut up, okay, keep talking. But I'm a little overwhelmed right now in the best way. 11:11, make a wish, you guys. I'm telling you, like, this is the energy that I'm getting right now. You are about to have a huge wish come true, and when this wish comes true, it's going to shock the lives of every single person you've ever encountered. And you're going to have a moment where you're sitting there and you're like, I knew this was going to happen. I knew it all along, and it's going to happen in a way that will seriously blow your mind even, like something that is so unexpected to you, and that's exactly why you're not supposed to know about it. You're supposed to be in this confusion. You're supposed to keep doing the things that are igniting you right now and following the path that you're going, because whatever you're doing, whoever you are, you're doing something right. You are doing something right. You've been doing something right your entire life. And if there's any shadows or like darker aspects of yourself that might be rising to the surface, this is because you are meant to integrate these aspects within your highest self. These are not parts of yourself that you should ever hold shame for. 1222 is I'm saying this, okay? If you're experiencing like maybe toxic patterns or like old ways of thinking, we're human at the end of the day. I'm human, you're human. I make mistakes, you guys, constantly, but you know what? I choose to not see them as a mistake. It is everything that we encounter is something that we can learn from. And you're never going to go through something or experience something that was wrong or that should never have happened. I believe that there is no such thing as coincidences, and everything that happens in your life is there to either teach you something, to help you grow in some way, to benefit you in some way. There is no negative side of looking at things. And of course, that's not negating like the pain and the trauma and the sadness that might come with these obstacles that come into our path. But you know what it is? I truly believe within me and wholeheartedly that every obstacle we encounter is a treasure. There is treasure hidden within the fabric of every single obstacle that you come across on your path, okay? And these obstacles, they're actually little gifts. They're actually like little level ups. You know what I'm seeing? Like Mario. Is it Mario? What?
Big Deal Days is here. Shop epic deals and feel like a big deal. Where does your shower take you?
I don't think that Rusty would be here today if it wasn't for the farmer's dog. He was always a dry kibble dog because that was all we knew growing up. And so I thought the kibble has less preservatives and everything else. It's actually the exact opposite. A lot of coat issues, digestive issues. He stopped eating the dog food. That's what got me on to looking for alternatives. And once I got to the farmer's dog, those constant, regular issues, I don't have them. He not only eats everything in the bowl, but he licks the bowl practically clean. Everyone at the vet, every time we go, they're like, oh my gosh, he's how old? Yeah, he's 60. I think it's helped keep him healthier longer. By the numbers, there's no comparison, the value of giving your dog a healthy diet. And it's really simple, and it works. I'm here for that.
Oh my god, my brain. You know that game where you race? What the frig? You guys, I can't even think about it. I'm gonna lose what I'm thinking about, so just somebody let me know what the name is. I know it. And when I read the comments, I'm gonna be like, Janina, are you for real right now? But anyways, you know when like Toad gets like the little mushroom and he just pew? That's what I'm seeing. Any obstacle that comes into your path, that's how you need to view it right now, okay? Because these obstacles are like little level ups. They're little booster packs shooting you. You know why? Oh my gosh. You know why this is a little booster pack for you, babe? Because you're actually a master at alchemizing. We've already spoken about this. This is a huge gift that you have ingrained within you. You are a powerful oh my gosh. I might need to make a whole video on this about transmuting energy, because this is something that I truly know. I know at this time in my life I have mastered. And I know whoever you are, you've either mastered this ability to transmute energy or you're on the path to mastery, okay? This is something that you're doing, whether you realize it or not, consciously or subconsciously, you are a master at transmuting. If something is thrown at you, you are able to take that and like spin it around within you and alchemize it and process it and heal from it, and then turn it, allow it to boost you up, to ignite you, to propel you forward even faster. And sometimes our energy has to be pulled back like a slingshot. Sometimes we have to travel back into the depths within ourselves, into our own darkness, our own ego, our own shadow. It could be a little scary, it could be a little intimidating, it could stir up emotions within us, but sometimes that pull back, all it does is pew, propel you forward. Pew. Do you get what I'm saying? All it does is propel you forward even faster. So every time you experience a situation in your life, maybe this is something you're going through right now. Maybe it's like, I feel like I just made a mistake, or I feel like I just encountered a darker side of myself, and like I'm healed, I should not have acted like that, I should not have done that. It was a blessing in disguise. It was actually a little treasure for you, because you know what you're about to do with that? You heard me? You're gonna take it, you're gonna spin it, you're gonna work your magic, and guess what? It's gonna literally make you like jetpack fly that way. Fly closer towards the path that you need to be on. Because you're a master at transmitting that energy. Another topic I'm gonna get into, you guys, first of all, pause for information, okay? I just wanna say, this is the beginning of a journey that I could puke. Just talking about it, genuinely, you guys have no idea the things that we're gonna get into. So if you're riding with me now, just you wait. I have so many dreams and goals, and I'm about to get laid off in a couple months. And that means like right now I'm still trying to balance the time to be able to sit down and do these messages, and I gotta be up at 5 a.m. and all these things, right? I'm like juggling multiple worlds, and maybe that's something you're experiencing right now too. Let me get back to myself, but this just came through. Maybe you're at a time in your life where you're juggling multiple things, or it's like you're doing this like dance with two worlds, and you're trying to balance the things, the life that you're co-creating with the universe and your dream life, but also the life that you're realistically living right now, the life that you're currently living in. And I'm just hearing right now, don't get too comfortable where you're at, because you are about to step into something greater. Wow, there goes the lights, babe. You're about to step away from this and into something even greater. So yes, you might be in this juggling act right now, but you're doing it beautifully. And how you dancing while you're juggling these two worlds? My goodness. Okay? You looking fine. That's all I gotta say. You're killing it, okay? But anyways, what I was saying is, I'm juggling multiple things right now, but pretty soon when I get laid off here, this is it. Like full time, like pouring my all into this. And there's so many things that I want to do with music and like vlogging and more teaching videos, because you guys have no idea the things that I've managed to manifest in this life. And I just know if you're sitting here watching this video, you have that power of manifestation. There is the lights. I'm not playing games with you. You have that power to just turn that on, okay? Genuinely, it is ingrained within you. So please ride with me on this journey and I will teach you all of the ways. But when it comes to transmutation, sexual transmutation of energy, the O method, you guys have no idea the stuff that we're going to get into very soon here. So I'm excited for that. But anyways, back to you, okay? Transmute any obstacles that are in your path and see them as little gifts, little level ups for you. Because the way that you're being propelled forward right now, babe, the way that the universe is deciding to allow you to cut corners, that's the thing. You are cutting corners. And I don't want you to ever allow yourself to procrastinate on your own blessings or to feel like you need to be logical or realistic or allow that doubt to seep into your mind, because I'm telling you, time when it comes to you is irrelevant. And when things happen really fast in our lives, it's because they're divinely orchestrated. And whatever is coming in for you, it's going to be something that happens in the blink of an eye. And maybe you'll experience this in another side of the spectrum, like when it comes to maybe you lost something really fast that you weren't expecting to lose. Me, for example, I had this experience when my long-term relationship ended up falling apart. It was like it happened together for a long time, and then within 3 days, boom, everything done, no communication, gone. So it's like when something like that happens that quickly, and you're not expecting it, and it throws you for a loop, it is because it is truly divinely orchestrated. And when this blessing comes into your life, it is going to be in the blink of an eye. It's going to stir up everything. That is why right now you're really being called to prepare. Sorry, like stumbling on my words. Prepare for this shift before it happens, because it is coming in for you now. Prepare your vessel. Work on your physical. Let go of the way that you've been doing things in the past, and realize that you're not the same person. You're not able to carry on those same habits, those same eating habits or sleeping habits or whatever it might be. Maybe things that you're like coping with or whatever, the way that you would distract yourself. You need to figure out who you're stepping into and think about the lifestyle that you're trying to live. What does your every single day look like? Okay, write it down. Genuinely, sit with it. Sit with yourself and ask yourself these questions, because you're stepping into something, and right now you're being asked to prepare. The train is about to come and get you. You don't want to be like willy-nilly running there, all discombobulated, losing your bags and stuff. You look a mess. No, we want you standing there, looking your best, feeling your best, in your like tip-top shape, mentally clear. Like that is the energy that you need to be in. Prepare for this thing, because I'm telling you right now, it is coming in, and it's coming in hot. That was beautiful. Also, you guys, try drinking dandelion stuff every day. That just came through. Somebody needs to try that, because it's very good for your liver, detoxifying your stomach, and you want to lessen stomachs. That's it. Anyways, you guys, I'm just so unbelievable. Last night, the way I actually